everyone. We are working on creating 4 simple basic shapes because it's kind of the basis for everything. So you could imagine if we spend some time working out how to make a sphere, that this could turn into someone's head, or it could become the body of a stuffed animal if you drew it. I mean, it could become anything. This could become a house. It could become the basis for a car. This could become an arm. This could become a nose. So that's why we do these kind of simplified shapes to get us started. Okay, so I'm going to render the cube and then turn the video off, and then I'll work on these. What we talked about in this one was trying, and it's not always the way to do it, and maybe on the pyramid we'll do it different, but to start with the negative, the big, the boring, and the dark. So we'll do that on this one, but when we get to here, I'll do it in reverse and I won't black out the background. I'm going to use this charcoal, which is at the bottom of our kit, which is a compressed pastel. Charcoal. This is just the compressed. Here's our vine, and this is the real messy one. And I mentioned it before, but you're like, why are we using this super messy chalk? Because it's so fast. We'll do another one in a little bit with graphite, and we'll only do one, but they take longer. They're just a slower burn there. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my negative space. I think I'm gonna keep my light sources coming the same way on all my objects. We're just kind of making them up at this point. My charcoal is on its side. I'm going to drag it up like so. Oh, I wanted to show you this. You can do it like that, just by hand, or, let me knock off the charcoal off of this. You can use a piece of printer paper, and I would use cheap printer paper, not heavy, nice paper, because it's a little thinner, and you can use it as a mask, like this. So you can get these really crispy straight edges. You can also use our masking tape. I think you have a manila colored tape that's a little thicker than this, but I'm just going to use the rest of this green one. You don't want to leave masking tape on a surface for very long, especially if it is in the heat, because it will tend to tear the paper. But I'm going to put that there. So you can see how sharp the edges can be. Put this here. I want to make sure that it looks parallel to the edge of the picture plane, which I think it is. Push that edge down. Again, I can make a lot of marks happen really quickly by dragging this charcoal on its side. And I have a form in space that's pretty easy. I like how mottled that background is, because it kind of feels like air. This one I had gone in and scribbled some fun marks back in here, and I may put some more in, like over here, even on the ball. But to always remember how fun it is that you can do cool stuff with the materials like we did in some of our earlier exercises. I'm going to keep my light source going the same. Freehand this one. I liked that it was darker up here, so I'm going to do this darker here as well. I'm going to switch to my pencil. I'm doing a pretty vertical mark. Kind of make it recede into the tooth of the paper. Okay, I'm going to switch to my vine charcoal just to put that kind of lighter coat so it looks like it's sitting on a table. And in the process, I'm trying to get rid of these outlines. So you can see here that there's still that old edge that I drew. So I'm going to push that charcoal value right up to that line and kind of fill that in so that it looks like a rectangle on a white rectangle on a gray ground instead of a white shape divided by a line hit by a white shape. I use this vine to kind of blend out that dark just a little bit. It's almost like I'm using the vine as a blending tool, but it's still additive. And then I kind of want this to be pretty light, and so now my goal would be to ditch that line. I need to get rid of that. So I'm going to use my vine. I can't remember what I used here. I think I used my pastel, my compressed charcoal, but I think I'm going to use my vine. And I'm using the vine because it's a little softer. And I'm going to try and make this have some complicated spaces to it. So it's not all one flat plane, like there's some different light kind of bouncing around on it. Again, I'm kind of making this up, but if we start working observationally, then you take cues from your still life or whatever your subject is, and that helps you build the space. We talked about on the sphere where you can have like opened and closed edges. I might actually work on one so you can see, like this would be open where it's dark and dark and you can't see it anymore. Like it's not a line, but this is a closed edge where you can see that line work. I'm going to try to open this again. Oops, I went too far in. So that line work is just gone and it's just a plane shifting in space. So I want to do that on here, and I'm going to try to kind of soften one spot and make one spot a little harsher. So it's like this balance of like having an outline and not having an outline, and letting that mark kind of come in and out of thickness. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of pigment here. I'm going to use a little paintbrush to blow away my dust there. So just a little bit of pigment to kind of activate it. I'm going to use a little bit of my chamois. This is where, again, I don't want you to overwork your softening of the edges. It all looks a little better when it's a little raw. Remember, these are just little exercises to help you learn how you can do these on other surfaces. I want that crispier. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to tape it, or you could use your paper, this paper edge, And then you can erase and make it sharper. So it's like I put a little pigment, but I took a little off. So it's got a sharper kind of edge. And then I might just add a little dark in here. So it feels like it's sitting down. I like that really harsh horizontal line to create some contrast. Yeah, and you can see how crunchy it is. Okay, so 2 shapes, totally different kind of mark making, or not totally, but slightly different, so that it, you can kind of see how they'll build. I'll come back in a second. I'm going to turn the video off, and I'm going to do this one a little different where I don't make the negative space dark. I'm going to keep it light. So I will be back in a second.